Welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday. We're excited for every Ed Talk's a special Ed Talk, but this one's a little more special. We're really excited tonight to be joined by members of our Kentucky Student Voice team. So the last week we've done recorded interviews, we've done live interviews, and really spent time trying to make sure that as we close in on election day, that we're really getting people. The point of the group is to keep people in the know, to keep teachers in the know. And probably one of the most significant things that we've faced in a long time is on the ballot in November. And so that's around Amendment 2. So we've been really spending time talking to people that have been engaged in this conversation and hopefully getting teachers to take action and just laying out what the issue is. And so the Kentucky Student Voice team is one of the groups among many out there in the state that have been working tirelessly to get the word out and to engage their community, engage those in the democratic process. And so I'd like to welcome our three students. And let's just take a quick second. We'll popcorn around and do a quick introduction for the group so they know your name and where you're from.
Hi, so my name is Kwa. I'm a junior at Owensboro High School, so that's in Davis County. And I'll popcorn into Ellen.
I'm Ellen. I'm a senior at Scott County High School in Georgetown. And Milo, you can go next.
I'm Milo. I'm a senior at Lafayette High School in Fayette County.
Awesome. I've got a list of kind of general questions. I kind of talked and we shared with them, so I appreciate the support and kind of framing the questions. And then we'll also look and see if other conversations come out of this as well. But let's start. I'll throw it to the group and I'll let you decide if each of you want to answer, or we'll kind of move on from there. But as you think about the work that you've been doing, what has prompted you to feel the need to speak out against Amendment 2? Why is this issue important, and what's motivated you? Who would like to start with that one? Go for it, Qual.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like this question itself, has numerous answers to me, and it's not just, I guess, not from me, but beyond the scope of myself being a public school student, being a direct byproduct of the system itself. I have a little cousin who's actually about to enter Kentucky, the Kentucky public school system this coming year. I mean, she actually lost her mother recently, and to me that was kind of important, especially furthermore in my viewpoint, because to me she needs a community more than ever. And she comes from a family that can't afford private schools with or without vouchers in the first place, or any form of funding system for private schools. She's a person of color, without much representation in my area. So knowing the standards for public schools and how accountable they're held to. I know she can get a good education. I know the provisions in place will protect her and provide her a community. But a de facto move to defund public schools by giving to unaccountable systems out to private institutions removes kind of that opportunity or that safeguard. And it's not just for her, but for all students present and future for the Commonwealth. So kind of circling back, I feel the need to speak out for the 90% of Kentucky students who attend public schools, but I also feel the need to speak out to protect a future for my cousin and that 90%. I feel the need to speak out for those in rural counties that don't have the choice because there isn't a private institution near them. And I feel compelled to ensure the success for our Commonwealth as a Kentuckian to be able to compete with other states, nations, and so forth.
Awesome, Qual. Thank you for that. I'm going to tell you, before I give Milo and Ellen a chance to respond, I'm sitting here so excited because I remember a few years ago working with your group when it was probably students that came before you, but it was keeping the student seat at the table for the State Board of Ed. And I remember a couple legislatures actually spoke out and said, I don't know if students are even informed enough to even be at the table. I don't even know if it was even that nice, but I just appreciate working with students and what you all bring to the table. And that was an amazing answer to kick off. So I appreciate that insight very much.
Yeah, cool. I think you said that so well. And I think from my personal experience, even though I am going to be graduating this year, I still have 3 younger siblings who are going to be in the school system for much longer than I will be, and younger peers as well. And I know that Amendment 2 could have negative impacts on our public schools for generations to come, and even if it won't impact me directly. And then also, I think highlighting student voice on this topic is also really important, because this is an issue that will impact us directly as students. And even though a lot of us are not going to be able to vote, I think it's still important to listen to our perspectives because of how it will impact us.
Yeah.
And also, like, I have family that lives in Arkansas, which recently created a voucher program. And like, I've heard from my grandparents there about the impacts of that on their school system. And like, I have an uncle and my cousins who, even though they're higher income, they still receive vouchers to be able to attend private schools. Um, so like having that background kind of, I guess, informed me about the impacts that Amendment 2 would have before like we saw it introduced in Kentucky. So
Yeah, yeah, and and we've been talking a little bit about that this week. Is this don't have a good track history where these other states that have, and I think that's the message I want our teachers and our community to understand. Is we've been lucky. We had the state board with the teacher and the student rep before. We've had things change that we've won in the legislature because of advocacy. But the last couple of things on charters we've lost only to have them overturned in the court system. And so now this is changing the state constitution. There is no plan B if we lose on election day. It opens Pandora's box and it takes us right to where what we already know, as you pointed out to your relatives in Arkansas, like this has not been super successful in those places as well, and it does hurt public schools. So thank you for that. Milo, thoughts on what was your need to speak out on Amendment 2 and some of this work?
For me, the main reason I chose to speak out was because I'm a disabled student and we're already a very underserved population within public schools. Um, it was, I find getting accommodations was already quite difficult. And I find that getting the support I need in school is quite difficult. And I feel like if funding was taken away, even more under disabled students and other underserved populations would not get the support they need because the money just isn't there. They can't hire the staff. And while I'm lucky to not have super high support needs and need like in school like therapy, like a lot of students get like speech therapy through the school and stuff like that, I still find that like it's still very difficult. Like for example, I have a very hard time walking upstairs, and my school already is struggling to get our elevator fixed, and it's an issue that still makes it functional, but, like, we're already having a very hard time getting our school fixed. Imagine the state of disrepair that accommodations and like, stuff like that would fall into if we did not have the money. I also, I also now I have the privilege of living in a district that wouldn't get as affected by Amendment 2 because I live in Fayette County. But in the district I used to live in, for most of my early life, we were 8,000 students. We would have been heavily affected, and most of us were in poverty, and nobody got free lunch there. They didn't have the funds to give pretty much anybody free lunch unless you were destitute pretty much. And I really feel like if this funding was staying within public schools and there was more funding allocated, we would be able to provide students with the help they need for everything, like for a lot of things that we just can't right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you actually kind of segue into you touched on that a little bit, and Ellen, quite, your impact on, what do you see, You touched on services and the importance of that, and I think that's what people. A lot of people want to point the finger at public schools and say this or that, but the reality is we service all students in all communities, every driveway, right? Like it's like accessibility and equity. That is the backbone of what public schools are, and that comes with challenges. But more funding, not less funding, is an important part of that equation. So, as a student, would anybody like to touch on like your impact, how you see the amendment impacting your experience as a student? I think everybody is kind of tied to your why a little bit, but like even personally, some of those equity and access issues.
I can go. So, like, where I live in Scott County, we don't have any private high schools. So, the creation of vouchers would really just divert money out of our school system, and we wouldn't even see the benefits of vouchers really, because we don't have any private high schools. Um, and then also, we're already seeing the impacts of the teacher shortage in my school. Um, like for me personally, I'm not able to take all the courses, like AP courses that I want to take because we're not able to offer them because we don't have enough teachers for it. So it would just kind of exacerbate those issues. And like my county specifically would lose $15.6 million and 145 educator job cuts. So like we would be seeing a loss of staff that we could hire. And then also, like, I attended the Governor's Scholars Program last summer, and that was like a very transformative experience for me. So, we don't know specifically where the funding to support, if we created a voucher program, where we would get the funding to support that. So it could come from our public schools. It could also come from other things such as the Governor's Scholars Program, which I think is a very, very important program because it is free and gives a really important opportunity to so many students throughout the state.
Yeah, again, it's forcing the state, forcing districts into tough decisions, right? My trade, my background is health and PE. We do a lot of advocacy work with the arts. We're always the first to go with those opportunities for those well-rounded pieces. Instructional assistants are so critical to schools. I mean, these are the first things that are going to be impacted if this is the path Kentucky chooses to go down in privatizing education. You guys have done a lot of work, done some really cool stuff lately. You're fighting for public schools. Talk about some of your experiences and why you're fighting, why this is worth fighting for, and then share with some of the things you've been doing that have been getting that word and getting that message out there.
Ellen made a really good point with Governor Scholars Program. I attended Governor School for the Arts this past summer, and I found that it was also a very transformative experience, and it's very important that it stays free. But now now the program is running out of money, and they normally have 2 sessions, but since the money's running out, they are probably going to end up having to switch to 1 session, which means they have to half the amount of students they accept. And I found it to be a very transformative experience for me accepting being disabled. But as far as getting the word out, we've been doing rallies and we've been posting things on social media. I have a group chat of my GSA friends, and I just talked to them about it. I went and visited some of my GSA friends, and we all just kind of talked about it, and like just trying to talk to people person to person is what I found to be the most helpful, because it's really hard when you're just like, vote no to like a bunch of people, because they don't get that interpersonal connection that makes them like really understand your appeal to them.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, I'm KSVT's communications coordinator, so I work a lot with like the social media aspect of it. And like as we've been like we did our amendment to Mythbust tour, and throughout some of the different work we've been doing, we've been creating like memes and different Instagram reels to kind of appeal to a younger audience. And like Amendment 2 can feel kind of confusing, like what does it actually mean? So by like creating like short little memes or I mean like videos, that
Yeah.
kind of gives people like an accessible introduction into what Amendment 2 is and what it would mean for them. So I've really enjoyed working on that aspect of it.
Yeah, that's important work. And I don't just think for your generation. I think in the social media world we live in, the attention span of everybody's age is like just kind of that scroll and that feed. So getting that message across short, sweet, and to the point. I wish so many of our teachers had as much context to this understanding as the three of you do, even the depth of which we've even already talked about. So thank you for that work in doing that. Let me switch to the last question here, and so now as we think about funding, let's survive. We come out of this thing. We win on election day, and we do not open Pandora's box. We don't have the Trojan horse that comes through the door. Let's talk about money and funding, and rather than going down that path, what's your experience and what would be your opinion of how you would like to see money invested in education?
So I feel like you can kind of take this in numerous ways, and like there are numerous things that you can actually achieve. So like kind of a thing that I especially thought of was like transportation as like an immediate like pragmatic thing. Every student deserves the ability to get to school. And, first of all, that would aid in the chronic absentee crisis, we're facing as in the Commonwealth, but also like it would help immediately help like districts such as JCPS, or, we could actually invest in our teachers, such as giving higher pay and incentivizing teaching as a job. So that actually resolves the problem with the teacher shortage, as well as bringing in more enthusiastic teachers. Or we can also expand access to mental health services to tackle the mental health crisis we're seeing, supporting special education programs or other programs such as like English language learners that can be, intentional and deliberate to tailoring education for any and all students. Universal pre-K that would solve so many problems that we saw like coming out of COVID, especially with literacy. And like, I feel like in general, we can solve so many issues that we're seeing in such an easy and like pragmatic approach with the money that could potentially be divested. Just ensuring that students are able to get up-to-date materials that reflect our ever-changing modern society. So like giving an education that is actually for all students and any student. So that would ensure that, us as students in general are ready to join the workforce and give back to our communities effectively.
Yeah. Excellent insight there. And I want to say thank you all for the work you're doing. Thank you for the social media work. Thank you for the video clips. I know we have other students that are going to be providing some material as well and lending their voice to that process. It's a united front out there. I've said that to all of our guests: the Kentucky School Boards Association, school administrators, the Pritchard Committee, the Student Voice Team, the Council for Better. The list goes on and on. We just got to make sure our communities, our friends, and our families. I've been doing this on social media to kind of help our group and encourage teachers like this content, interact with the content, because it's more likely your neighbor is going to see it. We're not going to put as many postcards in your mailbox as what the other group is that's trying to get you to vote yes. But what we can do is use grassroots and use our tools and resources. So thank you all for all the work that you're doing on behalf of Kentucky Teachers in the Know and your continued work that you'll do in the future. It was great to have you join us tonight, and we'll wish you a great school week and remainder of the school year. You all have a good night.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice night.